3, approval of tonight's agenda. I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Need a second, please? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. All right, action items for closed session. Need a motion to approve the closed session minutes from August 22nd and September 26th, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Ashley?
Phipps,
Yes.
Maddox.
Yes.
Barry.
Yes.
Worley.
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
Brewer.
Yes. All right, 4-1, Director of Technology Annual Report. Josh, the floor is yours.
First off, let me tell you, everybody, thanks for coming tonight. Appreciate everybody's time. My name is Josh Mulvaney, Director of Technology at Ball-Chatham Schools. I first want to start off with my department's mission statement. Our technology department will continuously strive to exceed customer expectation by providing high-quality service while embodying the values defined by the department. My first slide, if you were here last year, which I think everybody came back because it was so good last year, that's why you guys are in attendance. So this is the sequel here. This is actually the last slide of my presentation last year. So some things that were coming soon were our E-rate fiber builds. That was a fiber connection between our buildings. Disaster recovery between our two data domains, one at the high school, one at the middle school. Esports, STEAM opportunities throughout the district, and continued support, which included our desktop rotation, Chromebooks, our one-to-one initiative, and teacher support needs. So I wanted to put this up there as we move into the present, just to make sure that you're going to see some of these highlighted throughout the presentation. This presentation is also aligned to the part of the strategic plan with the technology department that we did as a district. And my goal number 1 was to increase equitable access to teachers, technology access to all teachers across buildings, all grades K through 12. One of the big initiatives on that was upgrades of the desktops. This year on the rotation was the 2 business labs at GHS. So I upgraded both business labs at the high school. In doing so, we freed up some machines that we're able to rotate into other areas of need. We removed all, on that with the next bullet point, we removed all non-sufficient desktops. Throughout the entire district, we had machines that were, to tell you the truth, unable to run Windows 10. And our district's all Windows 10 now, so we had to remove those. So the desktop rotation has allowed us to do that. Another way that we were able to do that, we saved money by working with the state surplus. We made a trip to the state surplus, found some desktops that met our needs. They're actually, to tell you the truth, some of the same desktops that we've gotten in RFP the year before at a much drastic discount. So on the state surplus, previously, all the years that I've been there, it was always, hey, if you have the inside scoop, whenever they got good stuff, you might land something. We stopped in by chance and there's some good stuff, so we're gonna make it more of a initiative to stop in there every once in a while and see if that is something that we can take advantage of more frequent at the bargains that we can get. We also upgraded the monitors at both GHS, and we have them for GMS, they haven't all been put in, but the old teacher setups, dating all the way back to the thin client days when we were on the thin clients, were the old 4x3 monitors that were more box shaped. Well, if you know Windows 10s, their native environment wants to be widescreen. So our teachers, really, you have to scroll down, you have to scroll across. So now, everywhere besides at the middle school, which they have the machines, and they actually had some monitors that we've gotten from a district through that were given to us. They already have some widescreens, but now all our teachers will also have the widescreen monitors that you need to run Windows 10. And we also upgraded projectors as needed. Projectors is another thing that we have throughout the district. Every teacher pretty much has one. And it's one of those things, unfortunately, too, that just was never rotated out. So a lot of those are just dying by the wayside. And instead of putting more money into something that isn't is outdated, we began putting new bulbless projectors in. So that way we're not wasting money on bulbs or having to worry about bulbs go out, but we're putting up LED projection machines to help save there as well. To give you an idea, so now all teacher machines as well, we've completed the entire teacher, where all our teachers at least have a machine that has 8 gigs of RAM, and then at least an Intel i5, at least a 3.4 megahertz processor on it, and again, a widescreen monitor. That was coming from, just even last year, one of our schools will still had some of the old HPs that only had 2 gigs of RAM, an old Duo processor in the 4.3. So our teachers, our desktop, we started that, I believe, my first year, which is, this is my 5th year at the district, where we started rotating some machines to try to catch up and to never have so many non-sufficient machines throughout the district. So now we'll just continue that rotation where we don't have to buy a ton every year, but we're doing that rotation where we're buying some and rotating the older ones out. And any time that we rotate some out, we try to find a spot for them to get the oldest ones always out of the district. Whether that's in the library labs, whether it's in areas where our support staff are, or anything like that, we just try to find a home for them if there's a better machine or place that's for them. Goal number 2, I'm not gonna have a whole lot on, because our goal number 2, when we wrote the plan, was to decrease the student device ratio to 1-to-1 with the goal of being 2 through 12. We've done that last year, so it's really, we're in year 2 for our new board members. If you don't know, this is year 2 of our 1-to-1 initiative, where we purchased or leased 3,000 Chromebooks for grades 5 through 12 that would go home. The machines, to tell you the truth, have held up for the most part as it's expected. It's like anything else, to tell you the truth, there's machines that I haven't seen since we started this initiative, if they're taken care of, and there's probably machines that I've seen more than once because of the way they're taken care of. This is year 2, and we only did a 3-year lease because with Chromebooks, I didn't feel comfortable going in any further than 3 years, guaranteeing that they'd work. So we won't have to visit this year, at the end of this year, but at the end of next year, we will have to look at putting another RFP out for a new round of 1-to-1 if we want to continue that initiative. Goal 3, maintain support and expand the network infrastructure as the district's needs grow and evolve. One of the things that we did do was this year, Dusty Burke, our athletic director, came to us and said, hey, they really would like to start using debit cards in the concession stand at the athletic fields. We had fiber between the press box and the high school, so we basically made it to where that fiber could get us, we put an access point in the concession stand, so now we're able to put Wi-Fi to where they can use the cubes. I believe they're using cubes with the iPads for the concession stands.
What's that?
One of the things that we're finishing up on, it's not done yet. We started this initiative, or started this project at the end of last school year. We were approached by AT&T. They're putting a few up throughout Chatham, and they wanted to put an extender up in our high school parking lot on an existing light pole. We had legal look over the agreement. Legal came back with some suggestions, is more or less making sure that if there was ever anything that had to be negotiated, they'd come to us and things like that. Other than that, it was fine. But all this will is use an existing light post that we have. Actually, they actually decided they're going to pay for a new light post, put up a new light post, and put a Wi-Fi, the cellular extender on it, and annually will pay us $2,000 a year just to have that on our premises. It's no cost to us whatsoever. We're not powering it, we're not doing anything with it. They're just putting the extender on our light pole. We also, being conscious that we don't want to be vendor specific, made sure that there was nothing in the contract that said, hey, or prevented if Verizon or somebody else came to us next year and said, well, we locked up with AT&T, we did not. We didn't say that no one else could approach us for something similar to this. This was just, they came to us, I believe they're putting one here, and they said down by County Market. So we thought it was an easy way for us to bring in income. Again, last year, I mentioned we were gonna do our disaster recovery between the high school and the middle school. We did get that all the way set up to where our two data domains replicate between the two sides of the district. For those that don't know, half our district really hit one data center that's at the middle school and half of it hit it at the high school. If we ever do have a disaster, we can spin up backups from, let's say, if it happened at the high school area, we could spin up the backups at the middle school to bring everything back up to the middle school, and everything would run over there. Vice versa, if something happened in the middle school, we could spin up the servers that were on the middle school at the high school and recover all those as well. Big thing that we did this summer was we migrated Skyward, previously has been at the district. We migrated that to a clouded hosted solution. One of my biggest fears, to tell you the truth, since I've been here was Skyward's our only mission critical server, to tell you the truth, that I would worry if we ever did have a data breach. And if you read the news, schools are being targeted more and more for these ransomware and data breaches, where there's been, I believe, Pekin and Mount Zion's both been hit already. So I just felt it was worth us getting it off of campus into a more secured environment. So now they have the disaster recovery, they have the more intense security intrusion and things like that. The benefit of it also moving it over is the accessibility. If we ever lost internet within the district, which I don't know if it's last year or the year before, our fiber got cut and we were down. Well, the business office goes down, and it just so happens too that it was payroll week. Yeah, so in order to prevent that, now Skyward can be accessed from anywhere as long as anybody has an internet connection. So if that happens again, if the district loses internet connection, they could go over to McDonald's or the public library because they have internet, get on and finish doing the Skyward stuff. And that leads into the system of critical procedures. I just didn't want ever us to hit something like that and us to be down. On the infrastructure, I also want to do an update on E-Rate. So for our new board members, what E-Rate is a federal grant program that all school districts really take part in, where they allow you to apply for federal government money for internet connections. So it depends on your free and reduced rate. We come in at 50%, so half of our internet connection is paid for by the federal government. That's category 1 E-rate, which we did get approved on. So half of our Comcast bill, because Comcast is our provider, is paid for by the federal government. And we got approved for it last year. We also applied for category 2. Category 2 is more of your equipment on the inside, which is a really limited stuff that you can apply for. Our needs, we've done several of these things already, so there wasn't as many needs for it, but we did apply and we did get awarded these. And the only bad thing about this is we applied last year and didn't get notified until the beginning of the school year, which makes it tough sometimes because now the school year started. But we still do want to take advantage of it because this basically costs us 50% of all these projects. The first one being we do have some cabling between closets that is still copper. We're going to convert those to fiber to speed up the inside of the buildings. We're also going to put in a cache box. So what a cache box will do is we'll improve our bandwidth. If, let's say, a whole classroom wants to hit a YouTube video, the first kid that hits that YouTube video will cache it on a cache box. Now every other kid that goes to get it for class just goes to the cache box instead of going outside. So it avoids the bottleneck of having to get outside and keeps everything in-house. And it doesn't have to be a YouTube video, it can be anything as far as what can be cached. We also have a few switch upgrades that we're going to take advantage of as well. That's the good news. The bad news, we also put in for special E-rate fiber builds. We were awarded the state matching grants, which if you were telling me we would have been awarded the state matching grant, I'd have said we were a shoe-in for the federal. The federal side actually denied us. The federal side, from what I've been told, had a new set of auditors that came in, or reviewers, so they were a lot more, I don't know how to put it, but regardless, we put in for it. They denied it, we actually appealed it, it still got denied. I actually am gonna set up a call with our state representative, Mindy Ficus, who deals with E-rate, and as far as state, she works for the LTC, and see why or what we need to change, and the wording that what they put. So what we did was we put in the grant for, we wanted self-provision fiber, as in the district would own that fiber between the buildings. But if you do that, you also say, we'll also look at bids for lease fiber and dark fiber. So in my opinion, we addressed that. The bids actually came back with those. We only had one self-provision actual fiber bid that came through. Because of that, we chose them, and even I broke down, whenever you decide which vendor, you had to send in your reasoning, send in the spreadsheet, why we chose it. It would have saved the district over the long run doing the self-provision, but they came back and said our wording didn't really include allowing the dark fiber, which is confusing because the vendors read it like it did, and we actually got bids for dark fiber. So we put that in the explanation. Regardless, it didn't get done. I've talked with members at we had a meeting with some people at ISB. I was at a conference, and I brought up our situation. They said, hey, our governor's already seen the amount of money that we did put out last year, and he's already signed off for it to be there. We've been somewhat told if you do it again this year, the state will still give you that. It's just we need to make sure that whatever fine-tooth wording we need to have on the federal side gets done. So we're gonna work with that. I'm gonna, like I said, work with Mindy, see what exact wording. We use a consultant. She's done other ones before that got approved. It's just whatever reason with these new auditors that just didn't want to apply.
What kind of money are we talking about?
We're talking big. This was a bit of project we probably wouldn't have looked at without it. We're talking, I mean, for running fiber between the schools, because you run into running fiber along the lake to get from the high school to the middle school, and then you also we were running fiber from the middle school or intermediate to Ball, which then you got to cross the interstate. So we're talking several hundred thousands of dollars.
And the support that we got accepted by the state, how much money is that?
Half of that.
Half, okay.
40%. So how it works, I believe, is 40% through the state. Wait a second. Yeah, 40% through the state, 50% would have came through the federal, and then usually if you've gotten both, the federal always comes back and matches the last 10%. So I was hoping for a zero cost to the district is what we were hoping for. We could put lease, and I'll tell the new board members why I hate or I'm opposed to going with a third party. Is my only concern is if that's not our fiber, we're subject to somebody else coming in and saying, hey, we're gonna hike your rates up this year. Whereas if it's
tapping into like a fiber.
yeah. So like we could bring in Metro or Frontier maybe and say, hey, we'll use your fiber, but then we also pay them monthly. I just hate us paying monthly for something that we could have owned ourselves. At no charge, exactly. You kind of roll the dice as in if you ever have to locate it or have a problem, the money that we'd save over 5 years, we could pay somebody like an annual maintenance fee to do something like that and still save money. I just felt better with going like that. I'll give you an example. I know 186 has CWLP between the two buildings. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it went through, but I do know at one time recently they wanted to change the rates. That's what I just don't want us to get into something lock in. And to tell you the truth, what happens with this, it's a game, because these third parties want to come in, hey, we'll build your fiber, or we'll put the fiber in and charge you for it, where the state and the federal is building for them to build their fiber network. So then they can turn around and say, hey, we're gonna hike your rates, but also we just put in fiber that we can give to Chatham and charge everybody else as well. Well, I'd rather work with the village of Chatham and be like, hey, we could work something out. We got fiber down into this corner. We'll allow you to tap into it if we could be, work with a partnership with a library or somebody like that. I'd just rather us be in charge of that. So here's the wrench in the whole system though. So ISB and ICN, which is Illinois Century Networks, has come up with this idea of free internet for all schools starting this year, where whenever you file for E-rate. We went ahead and allowed them to sign the letter for us to put us on there. It doesn't hurt us. We don't agree to that. And to tell you the truth, we can't go to that for another year or two, I believe. I'll have to look at the exact date because we are under contract with Comcast. But what this does is, hey, if you come to ICN, the state's going to pay for your internet. And they'll build your fiber between your buildings using third parties. And I've been on webinars on this, and again, the only thing that concerns me is not as much as having them as our internet provider, because we're always going to have an internet provider, regardless. But we know how this works. This is free now. Let's say the funding ends next year, the year after. We still have to have an internet provider. We're not losing anything out there. But if that third party, again, build our inner fiber between our buildings, now we have to go to them and be like, we need a contract with you now because we're not getting it paid for. So that's what worries me about that. That's just coming out, so we'll see where that goes. Goal 4, provide professional development in the areas of technology-infused curriculum and instructional practices. One of the things we did this year during our new teacher orientation, it's tough to do technology training for new teacher orientation because you might have a teacher that's done everything that we're going to teach them, and you might have a teacher that has never used some of the stuff we used. So we turned that out into kind of like an a la carte, where we've recorded videos, recorded the trainings ahead of time, put it together, met with them in the morning, went over the general overviews, went over them the musts, and then said, okay, the rest of the time, here's the videos we encourage you and think you should watch, but if there's anything else, now's your time one-on-one with, we had 3 trainers on staff that day to go through it. The benefit of that, at the first week of school, we also push that out to all teachers because again, it's refresher or maybe something that somebody didn't know how to do previously. How we were able to do that, part of it was last year we had one of my longtime employees retired, Joe Maltus, and we kind of revamped his positions where it was more, his main thing was working with Skyward, so that position still does all the Skyward, but we also put him in charge of innovation and professional training and things like that, so he did those trainings for us. He's also pushing out the electronic Titan tips, so we're trying to put more and more tips out to our teachers and how-tos every so often on things that they need to, maybe don't know how to do or like to do, or new things. Part of that, we do know that our teachers are under time restrictions. It's like in everything else. If we did do trainings, where do we squeeze it in? But we're trying to do our best to make it work for our teachers. We've met individually with teachers. We've met with teams. We're trying our best to make ourselves available, to let our teachers know we are here to help them in any way we can, whether it's individually. We're trying to meet their needs. And that's what this big thing is. Ultimately, our department, our biggest thing is lending a hand. I just put some of these up here just as example. I feel like we have our own projects, but we have so many projects that are intertwined with other departments that we try to help out, whether it's with our teachers. Obviously, our biggest thing with our teachers was our help desk. You know, anything they need help with, we try to We're trying to do more trainings with them. Our students, we try to be resources for our students. I personally just met with a high school student last week. She's in Mrs. Kaler's drafting class, and we have a CNC routing machine, and they can figure it out. It's through the computer and things. So I said, hey, we can learn this together. So I went over there, tried working with the student, and we figured it out. So we're trying to be resources for students. Transportation, we tried working with transportation. We did work with Jim and getting them coded different where it was hopefully easier for them to schedule their pre-K. So that was one of the things we did there, was working with TransFinder, how it worked with Skyward this year and how things were coded. Administration, we generate a lot of data for them, whether it's getting things ready for panorama files, whether it's getting things ready for map. We also work with them hand in hand in improving opportunities, whether it's in their building. I meet with the admin team, we meet together, or we meet with them per building sometimes and talk about, hey, what's some new initiatives that maybe we can roll out in your building, or what are some things that you'd like to do. Security, I just had a webinar this morning with Randy Allen, our Director of Security, on the new Halo devices. We helped them install the Raptor security system that they need for the visitor check-in. Buildings and grounds, we worked hand in hand with Mike on creating the STEM lab at GIS. Athletics is another cool thing we did this year, was stream the Hall of Fame event live last week. That was a first. There's some things maybe we could do different next year, but it's, again, trying to help athletics out any way we can. Secretaries, we work with them a lot recently with parent-teacher conferences and report cards. So our biggest thing, and it's all staff really, we want to be there to help any way we can. Ultimately, our goal is to make, whether it's a student, teacher, or whoever it is at Ball-Chatham, if there's some way we can help them, we're going to try doing that. On this, before I go to this next slide, it goes back to why are we trying to infuse so much in technology into our curriculum, into our kids. And I saw this video and I thought, man, this really hits it. If I was to ask you, what are some key things for a UPS driver to be able to do in his job, what would they be? Anybody?
Drop-off location.
Okay. Anybody else want to chime in? Routing? So this, UPS put this video out. We'll just watch a little bit of it here. This is what's coming our way, whether we like it or not. But we'll get the picture without the sound, to tell you the truth. So, UPS driver, loading up a package, setting our GPS coordinates on our computer that's going to be in their trucks, and sending it out for delivery. So, whether we're going to ask, what does a UPS driver do today, we probably wouldn't think of being able to put in GPS coordinates into a computer, program a drone to drive off and deliver a package, why go deliver another one. But this is what's coming down the line. This is why we got to keep pushing for opportunities for technology in it for our kids. I mean, this used to be, maybe it might happen, but this is coming. I mean, things like this it's becoming more and more of a reality. The Lincoln Land Community College just rolled out a new ag technology department degree. 2-3 years ago, that didn't exist. This doesn't exist, but we know that it's in the horizon. So that's why we're trying to continue to make opportunities for our kids, expose them to new technologies like this. And that's going right into my next slide, expanded opportunities. What have we done recently to do this? This year at the middle school, we started a volunteer coding class that goes within their TPH and lunch, I believe. I know it's in their lunchtime, but I believe it's TPH that bounces into that. Strictly voluntary. Kids applied to join this class, but it was to expose kids to coding. So they're doing coding at Code HS and doing work with Spherobots. I'll pass those around here in a second. and different programming of robots. It was a filler app to try to gauge interest to see if coding is an elective that maybe we want to offer to all our kids in the future. At Glenwood Intermediate School, we were working on creating a digital leadership course. If anybody knows Glenwood Intermediate School, they're big on their leadership. So we wanted to create a course that all our 5th grade is what we're geared for, because our 6th graders get to use the Fuse Studio. 5th grade don't get anything as far as that for sure. So we wanted to try to expose our 5th graders to this stuff as well. And I'll come back to that, creating the digital leadership course in a second. We're also trying to incorporate more of WeVideo. So what WeVideo does is allows our kids to create videos, audio casts or video casts, green screen videos for projects. We're also collaborating with the elementaries. We started out with Ball Elementaries to try to identify, we got their curriculum projects and tried to see what can we, you're already doing this, what can we throw in as a STEAM activity to maybe help expose kids to these type of activities and different technologies for those projects. So for example, I believe it's kindergarten is going to use our Ozo bots, and I'll show you those here in a second, to learn about coding already in kindergarten. I believe it is 4th grade that is going to do the life stages of a frog using our Lego We-Dos. So we're trying to identify again, ideally we're trying to get it to where maybe 1 1/4, moving forward 2 1/4, depending on the grade and so on. We also put in our esports lab. We put in 15 machines at the high school. So last year was our first year of esports, and it went over really well, but the problem was the kids had to do everything at home. So this year we bought in a couple machines to where now the kids can practice together and come on site and practice. And I believe we've hosted one of the Springfield schools have, I believe, come over, or if not come over, they're coming over. But we've also been in contact with the vendor of the machines that we got from, and we're looking at possibly holding a tournament this spring and bringing in some of the local schools. And they're gonna loan us machines and have a bigger event. Where we've begun exploring opportunities on bringing Project Lead the Way at the high school and middle school, and we're also getting ready to incorporate some of the 3D printing, which all these things, objects in front of you, we'll talk more about, have all been 3D printed. At the high school, we're gonna shoot to start at the science department. I brought a 3D printer. If no one's ever seen a 3D printer, I was gonna have it going, but then I thought nobody's gonna pay attention to me if they're back here watching the 3D printer. So, if you wanna see it, I'll be glad to show it to you at the end. So here's the digital leadership class that we're looking to put in for the intermediate school during their Genius Hour. Genius Hour or Lead, I'm not sure which one for sure. But we identified 4 main kind of capstones that we wanted the kids to work on. One being digital citizenship, one being video production, coding, and 3D design. So again, trying to find 4 main things that we want all our intermediate kids at least to get exposed to in 5th grade. I got a video here. So this is a video of the coding class at the middle school. They do code HS, so they've learned a little bit of Java, but we brought over our Spherobots. So our Spherobots are just robots that the kids can program, if you guys want to see those. So the object was the kids had to program it to get through the maze. We printed off some large mazes here. So it's a lot of trial and error. Kids fail, try again, recode it, try again. So just a lot of thought process going behind that. I wish I would have changed my audio, but the kids get excited and they're enthused. So again, kids are enthused about learning. It's a win-win. Some of the things, a lot of this, we're partnered with our education foundation where we are allowed to get some of these things, and we're going to expand these. We have the Lego We-Dos and Mindstorms. Here's a Mindstorm. These are at the intermediate school and the middle school. Again, it's just a robot that the kids can program and build. It doesn't have to look like that. Kids can build it to look like a dog. There's a kid that has built one that looked like a dog, I know. The sphere robots that you guys have. We have the Makey-Makeys, which is a circuit board. The 3D printers, Little Bits and Snap Circuits, which were to help the kids learn about circuitry. And the Ozobots, which is really a beginner's robot, where these are the ones that we're introducing to our kindergartners that will work and move according to colors of markers. So again, the kids are learning the idea of coding, but simple through colors of the markers. We did finish up the GIS STEM lab, and I think everybody has visited, I believe. If not, I encourage you to. All the furniture and stuff's in, but I don't know if you knew some of the technology that we had in there. We had the Macs, we got those last year, but we put in a big 80-inch touchscreen flat panel, put in 3 collaboration stations that the kids can huddle around, and the device on the end is called an Elmo Huddle, actually. So if you have a group of kids sitting around the table next to the TV, working on a project together, depending on what output they put, if they say, hey, let's see your project, they push the output that they're plugged into, brings it up on the big screen, on the screen that they're on the table. Some of the celebrations that we got this year, Rochester has been wanting us to come over the last couple of years to participate in their STEM fair, and I felt like this was the year that we were far enough along that we could do that. So we sent over 3 different exhibits for their STEM fair. We sent over 3D design and printing, a Fuse Studio, which is what our middle school and our intermediate kids go through, and our esports coach went over as well and had a presentation for them. We were outside of Rochester the highest in attendance for students and teachers / administrators. Rochester was obviously above and beyond as far as the number of kids, but hopefully we'll be able to expand this and maybe promote this more because it was a really good event. And maybe we'll host one of our own soon. So some things hopefully coming up in the pipeline. First of all, I love this picture. This picture was taken last year during a project. This was our 3D Derby project that we did out at Ball Elementary. And if you see the cars that are on the table, those were actual cars that the kids printed out. They designed themselves, printed them out, and then we had a big 3D printing derby. We had a show and go where our first grade, I believe it was, voted on best design for the cars. And there's a trophy that we printed off the 3D printer ordered for that. And then we had the actual race. And you can just see the excitement on the kids here. I was there, Dr. Wood went over. It was just great to see the kids, how excited they got about it. So this is the stuff that we want to do more, is getting our kids excited about these. They don't know that they're learning, but they're excited about it. Some things that we do want the opportunities that we really want to start looking into. One of the big things is virtual reality. What does that look like in the school districts? There's virtual art. It's becoming more and more out there. Like you've seen the drones. Drones are becoming more used in schools now as well. I'd like to use Minecraft EDU. Those were examples of opportunities that we're going to look to explore and start to bring into our school. The next ones are I wanted to put them on there just so that you guys have them on our horizon of our upgrade of our interactive boards. That's probably one of the biggest things I see coming down is a lot of our older boards are starting to fail, and they're several years old, so I see that as a big expense coming up. So I'm going to work with a rotation where, again, we don't have to rotate an entire district. Maybe we rotate X amount and get that going as well. We're still going after that fiber. I still want the fiber between the buildings. What that looks like, I don't know, but I still want to make sure that gets done. And again, just to make sure, I want to keep you guys in the loop. The copy RFP, I'll have to look the exact deadline, but I know it's coming up. I don't know if it's the end of this year or if it's the end of about midway through next, but our copier RFP will be coming up before long. That is currently with R.K. Dixon. And I will give them a plug. If you would have told me a year and a half ago how I felt, I would have said we needed to make sure that, I don't know if we'll go back with them. Me, Dr. Wood, Charlotte Montgomery, sat in with them on a couple meetings, and really they righted a lot of wrongs, to tell you the truth. They actually came back this year and even changed. We are already in contract with them and said, hey, we think you should change these numbers as far as the number of prints that we donate or dedicate to color copies and color-cate to prints, because we had an overage last year. They came and said, we're willing to change this for you. Changed it. Contract did not change. The only change, they moved those numbers around. And I'm happy to report that end of last year we had 0 overage because of that. So this one was a company that didn't have to say anything to us. It could have allowed us to go over again, but instead want to build on this. So am I saying that we need to go with them? No, but I do at least want to give them props that they did that for us. That's all I have. Anybody's got any questions?
I have just one major question. I mean, I think it's really great. This is the perfect opportunity to inform the board of the global view of the district's IT curriculum, instruction, security, infrastructure. It's just great, and particularly since there's so many new things going on in the schools. This is the perfect place to do that. So one of the things that I would really appreciate is if you could explain to me how the process works in an IT request. I mean, can you just tell me how you do it, how you prioritize new requests, how you can say no?
Sure.
Can you just
sure.
elaborate a
Yep.
little bit, please?
Yep, not a problem. So it depends on where the request comes from. So let's start there for sure. Depends on the type of request.
Okay.
I will say, let's take it even down to, one of the things that we found out whenever I first came was teachers would put in, let's say, donors choose requests or the BCA, the foundation request for technology, without going through the director of technology prior to. We've changed that where at least now we see that to make sure that, hey, one, is it gonna work here? Because it's not a lot of times a matter of, hey, I don't want you doing that, but let's say a teacher requests a laptop through Donors Choose, and Donors Choose sells primary consumer laptops. That doesn't work here. So now that's a device that we have to bring in, put on our Microsoft license that it's enterprise, and try to get that to work. So it's more of, hey, but I don't want to be the guy who dictates, but we want to make sure that it works here. Same thing is maybe they need a license for a Chromebook to work. Well, who picks up and purchases the fee for that license? So it's a matter of making sure they have it. So that happens. If the administrator comes to us, it's the same deal as, one, we got to look down and see, is it going to benefit students, number one. You know, that's always something we want to check into. Do we have the budget for it is a big thing. Is there any disadvantage or security flaws or something like that? Well, again, I'll give you a real life example of, hey, we'd like to start putting in Amazon Echoes in our classroom. Well, that's a huge security breach because it's a privacy violation. So no, we're not going to support that. You know, so it depends on things like that. And then if it's something I feel I need to go to Dr. Wood about, I know he trusts me, but if there's ever is anything in question, I'll come to him and say, hey, we're looking at this, and decide.
Okay, so I'm glad to hear that, because my opinion and understanding is that as the IT director, you should be the global focal point for setting your budget for numerous different priorities at schools, etc. These requests come to you, and because of your global knowledge and your technical knowledge, you can say no and feel very comfortable about this. So in that regard, there's one change in the process that I think, I would like to, express my very strong opinion. That is that I think all requests of any sort, you should be the leadership guide because you are the IT director. And I'm not inclined to favor having a certain department or whatever go out and send out RFPs. If any RFP comes out of this district on IT matters, I feel strongly it should be generated by you. We look to you to have the control point. So that is one, I know you're sort of fine tuning, it takes time to get everything going. But from an administrative standpoint, if you have any rule, it's called administrative procedures. Have you set up, do you have an understanding of like a global statement about, the role of the IT director? I mean, obviously, you've made some good changes, but, do you have anything?
I don't think there's any policy or anything like that set.
Okay, well,
I would be all for as far as, I don't wanna be, I think I agree where I need to be in on the decision for sure. And I think have, not necessarily my blessing, but, I think it needs to definitely be a partnership, whether it's, Jim or Randy having a security deal or actually with an HR deal. I see what you're saying where they shouldn't maybe go out on their own and do that and I agree because maybe Randy makes a call that totally goes against everything technology wise. I think it needs to be a team to where, hey, we need to sit down together and see who this is all affecting. What says it on IT? Because at the same time, I won't know, IT wise I'll know, but then I need to get a better understanding of
Right.
what do you need?
The user,
Yeah, because I don't know transportation,
Right.
or human resources or security, but I am willing to be like, okay, let's sit down and let's do this together.
Right. Well, okay, the end users things, I mean, you can't touch anything without knowing that it's going to affect many departments around you. So, I mean, I understand that you would rely upon the end users' knowledge and expertise to hash it out among themselves. And, you abide by what their opinion is. But it's still good to have the IT director saying, they've got the end user issues worked out, I've got the security issues worked out, okay, we're good to go.
Okay.
And I think that's something that we need to have, the district needs to have that. Personally, I mean, does anybody have any strong objections?
I think, there has to be some kind of a change control board, like what you were saying, some representative from IT, that would be you. And then from different businesses, if there is a representation, just to make sure that, all ducks are in a row.
Yeah.
And at the same time, whenever any request comes in, do you have IT strategic initiatives that can tie to, if somebody's requesting a certain kind of laptop, well, this is our standards and guidelines, and these are the, the primary strategic initiative. As long as you can tie to the initiative, yes, but if the set of initiatives are not met, I think that request can probably assign a low priority.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, appreciate your time.
All right, visitors, the opportunity to address the board concerning any agenda topic item. Take a vote.
Hi, I'm Carrie Kapp. I'm the president of BCA and a Ball-Chatham resident from 1996. And I have some questions regarding the refunding of bonds. My first question is where is the $6.3 million coming from? What will be the average savings per property per year? How much money is still in reserve? And can we have future spending plans not only for building projects, but also for curriculum development and staffing and benefits? And finally, how are you planning for the future growth and needs of the district? Thank you.
Thank you. You want us to go through all of those questions right now, or can we, I mean, we can get back to you on those?
Yeah,
Would you be
right.
willing to shoot those to us via
Yeah.
email?
That would be great. We have to, I mean, I knew exactly what you're talking about and where we can find the information, and Charlotte has given us that, so.
So I'll just say that the refunding of bonds is going to represent substantial savings to the district and the taxpayer. The total is gonna be something to the tune of $450,000 worth of savings. This refi of the bonds is a good thing. All the little details get complicated and complex, but the bottom line is, if we didn't do this, we'd essentially be letting $450,000 go to waste.
Because of interest rate markets.
Okay, consent agenda items. Does anyone wish to pull any? Nope, need a motion to approve 5-1 through 5-8.
So moved. Second.
Ashley?
Brian?
Yes.
Worley?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Maddox? Phipps?
Yes.
Brewer?
Yes. All right, section 6, personnel consent items. Does anyone wish to pull any of these? Okay, need a motion to approve 6-1 through 6-5.
So moved. Second.
Ashley?
Worley?
Yes.
Brian? Barry?
Yes.
Maddox?
Yes.
Phipps?
Yes.
Brewer?
Yes. All right, new business, insurance renewal. Ashley?
Hello. I have brought Jeremy Travelstead with me. He's our broker from American Central Insurance. If you would actually click
Which
on.
one, both of them?
Yeah, click on health insurance. So, this year, we had a large increase in our health insurance, premiums, regardless of which provider we went with. Our health insurance committee met, and our health insurance committee decided that remaining with Health Alliance was the best, option for us for this year. All of the providers came back with pretty similar costs, but obviously moving from one plan to another is time consuming and a challenge for many people because they sometimes do have to doctors. So what you guys see on here is, on the left, the PPO plan is in the blue. That's the plan we've had for many years, that same plan structure, and you see the 18-19 rates, and then the 19-20 renewal rates on there. And then if you go over to the green section, that is the, oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. The PPO 2000 is that third blue column. The insurance committee decided to add another PPO plan this year. The intent of adding that plan was to try to keep the monthly premium down as low as possible, but on there you'll see there's some plan design changes, including a higher deductible and a higher out-of-pocket maximum. If you go to the green section, that is the HSA plan on there, and then the final column in orange is the HMO plan for the district. So the average increase was about 35%. It was pretty steep. We typically have about 3 or 4 catastrophic claims. Catastrophic claims are claims that are over $35,000, did we say? $25,000. And so this year we had 16. So that was pretty major. We had some people with some major life events that caused those claims to increase pretty dramatically this year. So this is the health insurance, and then if you would please actually click on the benefits from Guardian. Guardian provides our dental, vision, short-term disability, supplemental life insurance. All of these rates remained the same. Guardian's Guardian did not provide any increase this year. All rates remained flat this year. So the recommendation is to remain with Guardian for all of their current benefit options, and then to remain with Health Alliance for the health insurance with the addition of the extra PPO plan.
Actually, you mentioned that this was the recommendation of the Health Insurance Committee.
Of the Insurance Committee.
Sorry, the Insurance Committee. Can you help for the group, what representation is on that committee?
Sure, there are 3 BCEA members on the Insurance Committee. There's myself, there's Charlotte, there's a board member, Dr. Wood, and 2 ESP, BCESPA members on the Insurance Committee.
Thank you.
Any questions for myself or Jeremy?
Leah, I think you already mentioned this, but I wanted to just get feedback. You looked at other providers and all the rates were going to be similar, correct?
Correct.
And again, that's because of the significant number of catastrophic claims that were made this past year.
Correct.
So-
Yes, they all get the same data. They all get their, our insurance claim data that ran from November 1st, when our plan year starts, to July 31st. So the data that they had, was with those massive claims, those 16 claims only go through the end of July. So keep in mind that their quotes do not include all of our claims for August, September, or even October.
Any further discussion or questions from the board? Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Need a second?
I'll second.
Ashley?
Alex?
Yes.
Bryant?
Yes.
Fix?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Worley?
Yes.
Irvin?
Yes. Okay, 7.2, custodial supply contract. Mike?
Good evening. In September, we posted an RFP to go out for custodial supplies district-wide. We asked for, it's a 3-year contract, is what we're proposing. We did get six bidders. 4 of them were partial bids. They were also located out of state, which concerns us as far as product supply. The 2 local vendors were Masco Packaging and Triad Industrial. Masco Packaging came back in. What I did, I broke it down per, so the trash bags, can liners from a specific vendor may have been $250 for a particular size, or maybe $500 for the other vendor. So I broke it down per cost, all the way down to the cost of one trash bag. So the cost of, if I broke it down one item each, Masco Packaging came in at $520. 520.92, and Triad came in at $851. So that's breaking it down, one item of each item in the bid list. So the recommendation is to renew with Masco, we have Masco right now. The recommendation is to renew with Masco for the 3-year contract.
Any questions from the board or comments from Mike?
That one item, Mike, did we take that off?
We did not take it off. We left it on there to maintain a free bid or a fair bid. That particular item, what we're talking about is wood floor finish here. Masco's price is, I think, $95 or $96 for a 5-gallon container. Triad's was $300 and something dollars for a 5-gallon container. But this year, I don't even foresee us even using that this year. We used it one time last year at Ball Elementary. I don't see us doing any floors, wood floors this year at all. So really, the cost of that product really is moot at this point for this year. Now, going forward, I mean, I'll have that price locked in going forward if we decide to do the high school or whatever we decide to do going forward.
Okay, so you met the RFP requirements and calculated it on a per unit basis, so you've done your homework.
I see we have some Masco folks here. Anything you all would like to add?
No, Bert, I think, just the honor to work with the district, and obviously I live in Chatham, so it's to work with the district in the last 3 years, and to have the opportunity to work, forward for the next 3 years, and continue to work with Mike and show the district other ways that we can save you money. mean, that's one thing that we're about, being a female family business. We really want to show, our customers how to save money by bringing our manufacturer reps in, maybe consolidate. We've done that recently for 186. We have all 35 schools, and we've got them on a plan of consolidation to lower can liners, less can liners instead of more. So we're looking forward to that. It's been a good time to work, and Mike's been really great working with us, so we appreciate that, and looking forward to the next 3 years.
Thank you. Need a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second, please.
Second.
Ashley? Thank you.
Barry,
Yes.
Maddox.
Yes.
Worley.
Yes.
Pitts.
Yes.
Bryant.
Yes.
Greer.
Yes. All right, 7.3, we have some first reading of some press policies. These are information
Should I ask a question?
let me read the policy
Oh,
list real
okay,
quick, and
sure,
then we'll
sure. Yeah,
we'll
yeah,
have
great.
some discussion. There were 5 items here. 2-140, communications to and from the board. 2-230, public participation at school board meetings and petitions to the board. 5-180, temporary illness or temporary incapacity. 6-40, curriculum development, and 6-340, student testing and assessment program. All righty, Susan.
Okay, so at the finance committee meeting last week, Kyle Berry was there, and he is also on the policy committee. And I'm not sure when the appropriate time is to talk about this, is maybe next meeting, Kyle, when the finance committee meetings are, approved, maybe, it's on the agenda. But the policy committee has made some recommendations not to accept some of the IASB writing. So would next month be the most appropriate time to talk about that, or this
Sure.
month, or whatever?
I can talk about the policy that was discussed in the finance
Yeah.
committee in particular.
Yeah.
After we discussed it in finance committee meetings, policy number 420, which relates to minimum level of fund balances, there was, I think press recommended an increase from 10 to 15% to 15 to 20%. And I think we determined that, well, there was discussion at the finance committee that wasn't really, it reduced some flexibility, and we didn't think that the this district needed to reduce flexibility at this time. The policy committee discussed it later on that evening and voted to, well, it's a recommendation of the policy committee to not move forward.
Okay, so we'll get that next month then, right? Or the fact that we haven't, never been submitted to us, we're just advising, that this board chose not to accept the press policy.
Yes.
Okay, any further discussion on press, or ready to move on? Okay. Financial, the 8-1, refunding bonds resolution, and if there is discussion on this, that's fine, but I have a statement that I need to read the resolution aloud here. So the resolution providing for the issue of not to exceed 6.3 million general obligation refunding school bonds, series 2019 of Community Unit School District Number 5, Sangamon County, Illinois, for the purposes of refunding certain outstanding bonds of said school district, providing for the levy of the direct annual tax sufficient to pay the principal and interest on said bonds, authorizing the execution of an escrow agreement in connection with the issuance of said bonds, and authorizing the sale of said bonds to Stifel, Nicholas and Company Incorporated. Any board members have any comments at this point or discussion on the bond resolution?
No, I just wanted to emphasize this is a preliminary step, correct? It's not, we're not voting to approve the issuance of bonds tonight.
That is accurate. But it is an action item, and I do need a motion to approve this preliminary step.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Ashley?
Bryant?
Yes.
Pitts?
Yes.
Worley?
Yes.
Maddox?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Brewer?
Yes. All right, communications. List of some the upcoming board meeting dates there. Nothing has changed on this list from the last month, I do not believe.
Do you know that the November regular meeting has been announced?
Right, but that was changed last month, so.
Could I, before we move on to citizens, could I just ask a question, as a board member, point number 9.1?
No, you can ask a question on
Okay, so, Randy, I was double checking and sort of organizing, last month's, papers. I still do, I still use paper. But I just wanted to confirm, that your point about, parking lot, GHS parking lot cameras is going out for an RFP, correct?
Mike and I are meeting with one of the vendors on Friday to discuss that. And as of today, when I talked to him, it's still in the investigative
Yeah.
stage to determine which way we're going to go. But that is what I want to do, yes.
Okay, now how can you have a vendor help us write the RFP?
He won't be helping us write the RFP, but he's helping us decide how we're going to make the cameras work since we don't have power to the light poles. Without power to the poles, we can't turn the cameras on. So that's the main problem. We also have a maintenance agreement for him, Susan.
Okay,
We also have a maintenance agreement with him.
okay, great. We're on board with
All right.
that.
All righty. Visitors' opportunity to address the school board concerning any topic. I would ask that you make your way to the podium and please state your name and keep comments to less than 5 minutes if you could.
My name is Lisa McMillan. This is my husband David Kiefer. I'm a physician in town here in Health Alliance, sorry, but more importantly, I have a son, Carter Watson, who has autism. He attends Chatham Elementary in the structured program under Miss Mary Meisner. I will assume that you all have received and hopefully read the email that we sent on Friday addressing the board for help. The past 3 years at Chatham have been a struggle for our kiddos with special needs, and Carter's not the only one. Mrs. Meisner has been a godsend, and I have to say Jen Farnworth has been helping as well. And I honestly feel that if it weren't for them, we would not be in this district anymore because of the discrimination that my son has faced. And I would like to know how you would respond to our request. I did receive a call from the admin at Chatham Elementary this morning suggesting that we have weekly meetings, and I appreciate that. In our email, we did note that, we've had monthly IEP meetings for my son over the past 3 years, and still, we're told over and over, these things will be addressed, and they're not. So, forgive me if the trust is not there. We need the reassurance, we need action to see that Mrs. Meisner has the support in the room she needs. I mean, the school's been in non-compliance with these IEPs, not my son. There's other parents here tonight that non-compliance with IEPs is illegal. I mean, I could be standing in front of the state board instead. I don't want to do that. We want to be a team, but it needs to change.
I think what you need to understand, one of the points that was brought to me by someone is I have friends that have went through the civil rights fights back in the 50s and 60s. And what drove it home for me was, they say, do you want to send your kid into the fire? Do you really want to, because your children is taking the brunt of that. And the gentleman said to me, the only difference is, a lot of these kids can't speak to say what's happening and not happening. We as parents have to investigate and stay on top of it and fight for it, and we're sending them into the fire in a lot of cases where things aren't happening that need to happen. And in a lot of cases, the only way we found out was by asking questions because people knew and it wasn't brought to us. Or the people that knew tried to bring it to administration and administration chose not to bring it to us.
Or we find out on social media that our child has been discriminated against and taken out of a place in the school that he's been in for the past 2 years. He's worked in a job for 2 years, done fine, and now taken out because that staff doesn't want him there. The IT presentation, wonderful. My son can do those things too. I paid $4,000 for his assistive communication device out of pocket. Where's his technology?
We're just asking that the children be represented properly. And we've said, even last year, we said in IEP meeting, that trust was broken. So it's time to step up and really prove yourself because it's not done in words, it's done in action. And we're back at the table again. Things have got to change. We ask for new people to come to help that change. And nobody shows up. And there's definitely a lack of communication between Ms. Meisner, the students, and this board. I really believe there's something lacking there. Communication is not being passed on. And that's the reason why we're making one last attempt. Thanks.
Can I stand here, or do you want me over there?
No, you're fine.
Okay, my name is Heidi Young. I am a caregiver to a student with special needs, but I'm also a parent of a 6th grade boy who is part of the football team and who we have had nothing but a positive experience with the district on. He has everything he needs and then some, but the difference in the experience that he receives and that of the child that I provide care for is night and day. And I think that we as a group need to acknowledge that we need to bring our special needs children along the journey with us. We need to be sure that from a technology perspective, they have the same opportunities and the same devices that our children that are mainstream have. We need to be sure that they are also in the mainstream classroom. And I too have seen over the last 2 years a decline in his progress due to the decline in the support that we're getting within the school system. And this is not for the teachers. The teachers have been wonderful. It's, to your point, a disconnection between the board and the teachers.
Thank you. Yes.
My name's Lisa Edmondson, and I know several of you probably already know who I am, but I have 3 students in this school district. I feel like we were here last year, and we're here again this year. I know you guys have a contract that you're working with right now, and once again, we're all standing here begging for help for our kids. Why? How many of you guys have stepped in our rooms with our children that have special needs? How many of you have walked in the special needs offices and walked a day in these teachers and these parapros' shoes? walk 5 minutes behind our kids. They're pretty awesome kids, but they need a lot of help, and they're not getting it. Why aren't they getting it? We have parapros walking out the door left and right because they're not getting paid. They're not getting support. They're begging for help and they're not getting it. The teachers are begging for help and not getting it. And they're not getting it from you guys. So all I ask is each and every one of you, go step. I beg you to go step behind my child, because I guarantee you, he is a handful. Give him 15 minutes and he can show you what a day that they live in.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to say that I have visited Mrs. Miser's classroom. I've seen the good work that she does and the hard work that the parapros do on a daily basis. And I've seen him interact with the kids. I've seen it with my own eyes, and I'm concerned about the issues.
I'd like to say something.
Could you step up and introduce yourself, please?
Sure. I'm Dawn Homa. I am a parent of a child in the district. My child has special needs as well. Mary Meisner is going above and beyond. She's also teaching 2 classrooms. That's illegal. That's illegal. So yes, you guys may have stepped into her classroom, but which classroom? And this happened last year, and now it's happening again this year. And I understand the teacher was hired and she left, but it's happened again, and it's still happening. These things need to change. I can tell you as a parent, I've been through a lot in this district. I have a high schooler. My son is completely inclusive with his non-disabled peers. He is amazing. The kids are amazing with him. It was not easy, and I have pushed all the way through. There has been a decline in the last few years. It is a different system, and it is not working, it is broken. And these teachers, they need help. They need help. They need help from you guys.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to address the school board on any topic? I'm going to amend 10 and adjournment. I'm going to take the board out of open session back into closed session. I need a motion and a second, and then I need Ashley to do an individual roll call vote to do so.
So moved. Second?
Bryant?
Yes.
Worley?
Yes.
Barry?
Yes.
Maddox?
Yes.
Hicks?
Yes.
Brewer?
Yes. Thank you, everyone, for coming tonight.
Put a check mark in front of your name and I'll come over here. We'll still meet 4 and 6. We'll talk about it.